Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope y'all are having a wonderful weekend, wonderful day. Wherever you are in the world, you may be ahead of me, same day. It may be morning, evening, afternoon. Wherever you are, greetings. I feel that I'm going to have quite a bit to say here, so I'm going to get on with this video. But first, I'd like to thank those of you who are subscribers to my channel. Thank you so much. Those of you who stop in from time to time. Whether you're a subscriber or someone who just watches occasionally, I invite you to check out my playlist. I have a variety of videos that I have categorized so it'll be easy for you to navigate. Do take time to explore those things and see what's there. You may find some topics that are very interesting to you that you can binge watch. And of course, you're always welcome to just watch the videos as they are uploaded. So we're going to talk about women, and that in fact, women can be evil, women can be abusive, women can be vindictive. Why am I talking about this? Because I'm seeing a trend where women are playing these double roles and it has to be addressed. Why? These women are in our society. They're not only affecting the men, but they can also be a danger to your sons, our sons and daughters. They can be a danger to us. These women will eventually, you'll somehow run into them. They will become your neighbors. They'll become a co-worker. They may be somebody that you hire to watch your child. Could be someone that you leave in the care of your child. Could be a person that they are a relative, but you are allowing that connection as family to override your discernment. These women can be teaching in our schools. These individuals can be at your church. These individuals can become your supervisors or a co-worker. And with their vindictive behaviors, they can marry your sons. They can become friends to your daughters when they get older and become women as they grow up. You see, vindictive and manipulative women are created from a young age. Now, most children, when they are born, they come out innocent. They are. Some children may have some sort of mental challenges, things that may happen based on the lack of development in their brains, different things. But more often than not, they don't just come out evil. Now, we know the Bible does say that man is born into sin. It just means we're prone to it. As long as we're in this flesh and this body and emotions, we are prone to it. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to become that. And there are influences and things that may have happened in these ladies' lives from a young age, negligence, abuse, different things. Sometimes people think abuse is just physical. It can be emotional. It could be that parents denying the child certain things, making their love conditional. They just treated them a certain way and they grow up and they become who they are. At some point in a child's life, there will be something that would break, something that changed, a significant event, something that the mother, father, parents did or did not do, that the child just stopped believing, and they began to feel anger and bitterness, and they learned to protect themselves as much as they can while they're living at home or they're living with guardians or grandparents. They really have to follow their rule, but there is something in the middle of that child that says, when I grow up, this will never happen to me. And sometimes it can be the child goes on and does great things in their life, and they break the cycle and they become better. But other times they can now be so filled with hate and rage and other things that they learn how to manipulate other people. It's a form of displacement where they are now going to manipulate and they're going to treat other people the way they were treated. Ironically, they will still have fear, and even have deference towards the people who abuse them, but they will abuse people who are vulnerable, like their children or friends and people who have not done harm to them. Why is that? Well, number one, sometimes they still feel that fear towards the parent, but they have now become like them. So they're not going to hurt the others who are like them. It's like, you get bit by a zombie, you become a zombie. You're not going to hurt another zombie. Does this make sense? All right. And we know zombies are not real, but just an example. So a lot of times they've gone through some things in their lives, horrible things, but that bitterness and that hatred transforms them into something. And those hurts and pains and disappointments and letdowns are not addressed. And because they're not addressed, it just sits and it takes root and life begins to happen. Now they have to try to function as their peers in elementary school, middle school, high school, college life. They have to try to act like a normal woman, try to be a normal wife, all this stuff. But all along, they have this bruising within them. And so therefore, they experience life in a very pixeled and broken way. The way they reference things, the way they look at things, the way they try to adapt. Sometimes they're trying to be loved and liked. And so they will draw people because they don't feel good about themselves anyway. They're going to draw people who's going to mistreat them. It's like it's a spiritual thing. So no matter how much you may try to act positive and think that and act like you're fine, the truth within you is going to draw that toxicity. Whatever your deficit is, there's going to be someone that's going to come in and they are going to say, hey, I've got everything that you need. I can give it all to you, but it's going to be in a negative way. So a lot of times the women fall under the radar. Number one, because they are women. And there is an advantage, a social advantage. Yes, there are disadvantages socially with being a woman, because a lot of times people are going to defer more to the man and they may get paid more. There are different things that may happen, but nevertheless, women are not where they used to be as in back in the days. And this is all depending on where you are in society, where you are in the world. But for this video, women are going to be able to hide behind the fact that they are women. So women who are abusing men, for example, they're going to get away with that because society feels like a man complaining that a woman is hitting him, oh, you're a softie, don't take him seriously. So we have young girls that's hitting your sons, okay? And they grow up, become these women who are abusive. Sometimes they're not physically hitting, but they are verbally abusing them, emotionally. They play games, they withdraw. There is this game that women, that I won't say all women because all women are not this way, but a game of silence that they play to make you do what they want to do. There's a game that they play. It's this, they're doing stuff, but it just looks like they're not doing it. It is passive aggressive. There are things that women can do that is extremely vindictive, which is why a lot of times if you have a female boss, you just sad, whether you're a male or a female. When you have a female supervisor, 9.5 times out of 10, that woman is going to be a problem simply because there's just something that women in authority do. Now, anyone with power can behave this way, but it is a true fact. In my time being in the military, there are, out of all the women I have worked with, there were 3 that I can count on my hand who were fair, who were impartial, who was able to just deal with day-to-day issues. They didn't hold grudges. They didn't get emotional. They didn't do all the stuff. 3. Okay. The other ones were messy, vindictive, held grudges. It was crazy. And that's just something that even when I was in charge and I got to a place where I was running my clinic and I had different people, one of the things I realized is to treat people as individuals and not as property. You have to realize you're dealing with someone's mother, father, father, right? Because I had males as well. Mother, father, brother, sister, uncle, niece, nephew, child, parent. You can't just treat people any old kind of way. And those were things that I had to learn. And I did, because I cannot stand to see people being mistreated. Now, people back in the days, they'll say, oh, you're a Libra. That's your sign. And if I was into astrology, yes, I am a Libra, but that's not what it is. There is just a sense of right and wrong. You know, the Spirit of God put in us, some of us more than others, based on whatever our calling is, that we just hate injustice. So moving right along, women can be very vindictive, and it's time that we open up our eyes in society to see this. Because as long as this is happening and no one is calling it out, they're going to continue to go under the radar. If women are not vindictive, if women are not wicked and evil, we will not be reading about these women who there's a couple of them. One right now, she just got sentenced for murdering her stepson. And she was trying to plant it on the daughter, and she was doing so much lying. And then there's another one, forgot what her name is. Is it Villy or something like that? She murdered her. She was in some sort of cult stuff and murdered her children. And I believe her ex-husband. You read about these things a lot where women are doing the stuff. There was just a documentary I looked at. It was like maybe last year, where this young man, his girlfriend was physically abusing him. He was a twin, and he met this girl, and they got together, and she was nice at first, but then she was being a little bit weird, and then they kind of broke up, but then they got back together, and then she ended up getting pregnant, and then he moved out to live with her. She isolated him from his family, but in the meantime, she was abusing him. She started off with the verbal, then she started with the slaps, and then she started moving to stabbing him and using a hammer to hit him. And by this time, he's so broken, and he has a child with her. He's doing everything in his power. He can't tell the police what's going on. He's making excuses until finally it just gets exposed. And now he's doing documentaries, and he's doing conferences and talking to young people. There will be no people like whatever that one girl's name is. It was way back in the days. Not way back, but it was the early 2000s. And it was this girl that stabbed and killed her boyfriend in the shower. And, she's walking around with these little glasses looking mousy and innocent. Jodi Arias. These people did not just become killers. Okay? There is a place that they started. And when you read their history or you listen to their cases, you will see that they had a history of being manipulators. Okay? Liars. Passive aggressive. It starts somewhere. And that's why as women, little girls, you have to teach them early. Don't let them just keep getting away with little things. Oh, because their brother's older, or because they're so cute, you let them get away with doing little things. There are things that kids will just be kids. But if you recognize certain behaviors and things of disrespect, and they're breaking someone's toy, or they're doing certain things that's not right, you have to call it out. You also have to be able to do that within yourself, because there's a classic behavior that women have of being very passive aggressive, being very vindictive. If you had a child out of wedlock, you would try to use the baby. Some of you lie and say you can't get pregnant. And then now, if that man happens to love that baby, you're going to use the child against him. Some of you, as long as you're married to that man, he's a great dad. But the minute something happens and you get divorced, suddenly he's a bad father. And because you can't get your own way, you're going to use the child as a source of pain for him. Because this is the only way you can get him to buckle. And of course, some women end up killing the children. Before we read about them being killers, they will have a past history of manipulation, promiscuity in some cases. That means they're sleeping around with a bunch of different people. They were doing little things, guys, when they were in high school. They were telling lies. They were making up stories. They were telling people things about their families, saying that they died, telling people they have certain sicknesses, certain illnesses that they don't have, making up stuff, lying to their boyfriends, lying to their friends, doing things, okay, hitting, being abusive, always have a story. I am tired of hearing the sad tales about what happened. Yes, it is not that it is not legit, but that is not a ticket to abuse other people. And the thing that is very important when you are listening to someone, whether this person is just a friend or someone you're interested in, when they're telling you their sad tales, a good question to ask them is, so how have you dealt with that? Where are you now with that? And sometimes they may lie to you, but you could tell a lot by the way that they're talking about things. Beware of the woman that's always telling you straight out the gate about what she went through. You need to pay attention to that and put it in your head. So how are you dealing with that? What is your relationship like now? Now, sometimes some relationships, they're not in relationships with these individuals for whatever reasons, but how are you dealing with that now? That hurt, that pain, that stuff you went through, where you're at with that now? How have you dealt with that? Have you moved forward? And you listen to them. Now, if they haven't moved forward, they'll probably snap at you and, how could I move forward? What do you mean move forward? That's your answer right there. Don't deal with that. It is that woman's job and responsibility to get the help she needs. She is an adult now. To deal with those pains and the genuine and legitimate things that she's gone through. Those things are genuine. Those things are legitimate. Those things are a reality. But what is not legitimate is to be abusing people in the process of it, hurting people, doing mean things, and then expecting other people to understand and to remember that you were abused. I don't want to hear that. You were abused, but you do not get to abuse me now. You do not get to abuse my son, my daughter, because you were mad. Women who don't deal with these things, they'll go through their lives. They'll be that little friend, and they start young. My daughter was just in the 3rd grade, and she's telling me about these things that these girls are doing, and some of them were trying to bully her. And I could not believe that they were already this way. And they were wearing uniforms at school. And the girls are unbuttoning the top buttons, the first 2 buttons of their little uniform top, because they were wearing, the plaid dresses, and they use a jumper where they can wear the skirt, and the shirts, they'll unbutton the top buttons. One of the girls were doing that to show the no chest that she has. Here I am teaching my daughter differently, and she was just so shocked. And the way the girls are just manipulating, there's something that is already in girls, little girls at a young age, that if there is no guidance and they're not instructed and they're not taught, they'll grow up to be very vindictive. Now, how do these young girls learn that? Parents, most likely their mothers, their aunts, the way they grew up. And a lot of times those mothers are narcissists and toxic and probably tease them and treat them badly, or they witness them doing it to other people, and that's how they learn. Remember, children are always silently taking in information. And so they carry on in this manner. They take it through life. Take these behaviors seriously. Just say, I need to change my ways. I need to stop being this way. A lot of times women, they have gone through a lot of things and they become hardened and bitter, and then they rebuild themselves in a way to say, you won't hurt me. It's like, imagine they have on this full suit of armor with sword and shield and everything, and this works for them now, because now you can't hurt me. Now you can't take advantage of me. Now you can't set me up. Now you can't hit me anymore. And it's a natural thing. But when you do that without seeking the help of God to help you, without going to counseling, without dealing with that and going to the root of it, you become the ones who abused you. And that's why these women will go to work and be in charge, and they'll be the worst bosses. They can't reason. You can't rationalize with them. You can't talk to them. You can't point out anything, because that abused little girl in them will take your advice to them as criticism. If you're doing well, she's jealous. If you're thriving, she's going to fire you. She's going to give you the worst schedule. She's going to treat the men different, or she may treat the women better and treat all the men badly because of what her father has done. This is how they're broken. They haven't dealt with the abuse and the violations. So they go to school and they become teachers, and then they start to mess with the students, start to have inappropriate relationships with them. They lie on people. They lie on men. Some of them go out in life and place false charges on men. Some women, that is the way they make money. They will willingly have sexual intercourse with a man and then say that I was assaulted. We've got to call that out. While there are women who actually have been assaulted and they should be heard, there are a lot of women who lie about those things and make it difficult for the ones who are true victims, because women lie about that. There are women who are hitting and abusing other people physically, hitting your sons, doing these things, and the one time your son raises his hand to push her off, she'll run and call the police and lie and change his whole life. These women exist. And before they become the killers we read about, and before they become the teachers who are sleeping with the students, before they become the ones that have been caught in lies and still trying to act like it didn't happen and still lying about it, before we see them on that level, they were just like the ones that you probably know right now. Or maybe you looking in the mirror. Manipulating the children, manipulating the neighbor, manipulating your husband, manipulating your relatives, manipulating your parents, manipulating your boyfriend, controlling, being jealous of your friend because she's doing well or he's doing well, threatening to end your life to have control of your boyfriend. But anybody that's threatened to end their life, and whoever's hearing, don't tell them to do it, but tell on them. Tell somebody. Report them. Don't keep that a secret. If you're a teenager and you have a girl that is hitting you, you need to report her. Stop seeing her. Because here's the thing that happens with a lot of people. A lot of these women, what they're going to do, they're going to give you some good sex. That's what they're going to do. Because sex really, it creates soul ties. Sex, it really mars your judgment. It affects it. It causes you to have more deference. And deference means you're going to do whatever they want you to do, despite the fact that you know it's not for your good. A lot of times they're playing these games, these head games with you, especially if you're a young boy, especially you're a kind man, where they do what's sort of it's something that's called the looking glass self. And what it is, these people are looking at themselves. They see themselves as less than. They see themselves as incompetent, incapable. And what they do is what they see because on themselves, they look at you, and if you happen to do certain things, they'll blame you. They'll say that you're doing this because you know this about me. You're treating me like this, or you didn't respond like that, or you responded this way because you know this is what's going on with me, when in fact, they're the ones that's creating their own distorted reality because of how they think about themselves. So you'll be in this relationship with her where she's playing these head games, and on top of it, she's giving you some good loving. She's blowing your mind. That is her way to keep you trapped. That is the reason why a lot of men don't leave the rabbit boiling, bust your window out, clicking the light switch on and off in the dark type of women. They learn to become vindictive and wicked and evil because they have the femininity and this facade as it's like their shield. I'm a woman. I would never do that. Oh my goodness. Let's not forget about the little mousy, quiet looking ones. Little glasses, those little beady eyes, and looking like they don't do anything wrong. They do. They can say evil and wicked things. A lot of times they'll think evil and wicked things. These are the ones that will go and break something in your house or throw something away that's important. Don't leave your cell phone on the desk next to this girl, this woman, because she'll throw it away. She'll break it. She'll crack it. She'll hide your stuff, hide, your medication, throw out your medication, scratch your car when you're not looking. That's what evil is, because a lot of times those quiet ones, they are implosive. They're not explosive, they're implosive. So that means everything they feel on the inside, and they act like nothing's wrong, and they're just and they're mad at you. But the whole time on the outside, they just look like Miss Little Cherry McPlum. I don't do nothing wrong. A lot of times they do nice things. It's hard to catch them because they're nice. What do you mean? Mrs. McPlum, she comes and she makes cakes for the department. No way. She hand writes Christmas cards each year for every last one of us. No way. If you ask her for anything, she'll do it. No way. She's doing this in the community. She's doing that in the community. That has nothing to do with their character. Can I repeat that again, guys? This used to have me fooled. A person's qualities and attributes have nothing to do with their character. Their character. There are people there are serial killers or people who will butcher someone who may give to the poor. They have been signed up or subscribed to a program that adopts a child and give things to the poor, and they do things. That is just a quality that they have. They may be funny. They may be that you can have great conversation with this person. They can make you feel good. They're a great cook. They will help you. They'll drive you to the hospital. They pick you up from the airport. They do all these things. You call them, you ask them. Yes, that is just a quality that they have. But that is not who they are. That is not their character. The things that they do when no one is looking, their moral compass is all toe up. And the way you're going to know what they are is when, man, they're doing all these nice things, but you keep finding out that they're a liar. Man, they do all these nice things, but then you find out they're doing something going behind your back. They're doing all these nice things, but you realize that they're deliberately sabotaging you. And we will get confused by their qualities and realize qualities has nothing to do with the person on a whole. A robber will hold the door open for you, but they're a thief at night. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to know the difference. And a lot of these things, guys, are going to be by discernment. This is where the Spirit of God comes in. Now, there's people that may not believe that. And they'll be like, your intuition will help you, but it only takes you so far. Your intuition is going to let you know something about this person isn't right. There's something off about this person. That's what's within all of us. Okay. But the Spirit of God, not only would you have that feeling, but you will also get the information as to why. It will be revealed to you. Now, sometimes whether you're walking with the Spirit of God or not, he'll show you. It'll be revealed to you. But what often gets people is that women have the ability to cry. What do you mean? I would never do that. Let me tell you something right now, and I'm not being funny, but as a mother, I do have a daughter. She's my only girl, and all I have are sons, and they're older than her. And one thing that I teach my daughter now, okay, is you're not going to be wrong and strong, and you're not going to do something wrong and then cry when you're being held accountable. When I'm calling you to the carpet on something that you did. Okay, if you start crying about something, I don't want to hear it. Cut it out. Cut out the nonsense. Dry those tears and face what's happened. Let's talk about it. I'm asking you, why did you do this specific thing? I don't want to hear the crying. You need to talk to me. Why did you do that? And one of the things that I teach her is your tears should be valuable. Your tears hold value. If you cry for every little thing or something, you're wrong, but you're crying because you're caught. Or I don't want to hear that. Your tears and your pain will no longer hold value if you use it all the time. Now I give her the freedom to shed tears. If something is bothering her and she comes to me, she talks to me, and she feels sad, she can cry, she can talk about when it's on the table that she has done something wrong and I'm asking about it, or she's done something she shouldn't have done and I don't want to hear the tears, ma'am. I don't want to see them. You need to tell me why you did that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to address it, and we're going to figure out how we're going to deal with it. But these tears have no place here, because too many women are doing that. And it starts young. If your daughter do wrong things, all she has to do is cry, and then you're going to dismiss her brothers, or you're going to dismiss her sister. You're going to dismiss things because she's crying. There's a lot of women that do wrong things and they get in court and they start crying. These women that murder these innocent children or murder their husbands in cold blood, they can understand, you know, I don't want to hear it. He was this to me, he was that. And a lot of times it works. Because there's this whole thing, as much as women say we want to be equal to men and everything, let me tell you something, they don't want to be equal when it comes to accountability and responsibility. Get on the, you did this? No, oh, no, it was, oh, my childhood was so bad. Okay, hold up. I get it. But what I got to do with you killing this little boy right here? You had a terrible childhood, but you were not murdered. They had enough not to kill you. So why would you go and do this to someone who's vulnerable? Because they don't deal with that pain. There are lots of vindictive and wicked women walking around. And you need to understand, before they get to the next level, before they go from 0 to 100 with you, pay attention to what they're doing. They're very early signs, ladies and gentlemen. The little things that they're going to do. A lot of times they lie about something. A lot of times you see that they kind of did something. They went behind your back and did something. A lot of times they'll maybe lose something that's of value to you. You're gonna know when they're being vindictive, because in the core of us, we are spirit. And you may say, I'm not telling you, oh, as soon as they do that one thing. Now, there's some things you do it one time, it's over. I'm done. I'm not trying to hear it. And a lot of times someone is a liar and they lie to you. You really should not give them another opportunity. That's just my opinion. Now, sometimes a person, this is something where you have to use discernment, because let's say a person was, they may have been, sexually assaulted, and some topic may come up about that, and they may say no because they don't want to talk about that. I don't want to remember that this happened to me. You have to understand sometimes that's why they did that, but you should not lose focus on the fact that they did lie. Okay, but maybe you wouldn't cut them off for that. But you have to know that they will lie if they need to. And you have to decide if that's what you want to move forward with, or can you move forward with it, right? And just know that this person is normally not like this. They were just afraid to say this. But, okay, so otherwise everybody will be cut off, because people have lied. I've lied before about something like, oh, I didn't want to say this or that. But I'm not a liar. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if someone's like, let me give you an example. There just may be something that you don't feel comfortable telling a person about yourself personally. Or somebody, let's say they're not really attractive, but then if they say, am I ugly? You won't say yes. You understand? You might know you're not. Because you don't want to hurt the person. You want to, it's a process called face. You want to save face. You want to save them. I can't hurt you. I'm not going to tell you that. It's the same way that a person may have really bad breath and they're talking to you. A lot of times you're not going to go, oh, your breath stink, unless you're just a rude person. A lot of times you're going to offer them a mint, or you're going to say something, or this person has like serious halitosis. Most people, they're going to live that lie with them. Okay. They're never going to say that their breath is kicking. They're just going to suffer and like, wow, you see what I'm saying? But there's a difference with a person who they enjoy lying. They just lie all the time. You just lie about everything. They'll lie even to your detriment. It's not to protect anyone. They lie to your detriment. And you can only go so far to protect a person anyway. But there are people, you're going to know they're habitual liar. They're just vindictive. And you have to understand that whatever that thing is that they do, whether they hit or whether they lie or they play these passive aggressive games, whatever it is that you discover, you need to realize that is just one part of the darker aspects of them that's underneath that. And the longer you stay around, the more you're going to discover. I don't hate women. I hate nonsense. I can't stand it. And right now, in these days, women are coming out in this manner. Yes, there needs to be equality and things, but how equal do you want to be? You'll find that while they're saying, oh, we want to be equal. No, they don't. Not in everything. They want to be able to hit a man, but then if you hit her back, oh, I'm a woman. They want to be able to speak rudely to a man on a panel, okay, and say really inappropriate and disrespectful things. But if he does it, she buckles, she curls. Can't take it. So what's going on here? You want to punch him, but if he punches you and you go flying like a rag doll, all of a sudden you're the victim. You want to go to court and you hear the testimony of what's going on, and you're using tears and boo-hooing and crying and right? You got to pick a side. But there is something that's going on here where it's like almost as if there's a group of women that wants men to be obsolete, but men are needed. Because whatever country you're in, if it's invaded, it's not going to be invaded by a bunch of women. It's going to be men. And you're not going to be any match. I don't care how strong you say and think you are. I saw this show with men and women that were competing against each other. They were competing, and the women were trying to compete with the guys and trying to do certain things because it was just like everybody was equally, it was regardless of age, strength, creed, whatever. That's what this game was about. And the girl, she was strong. She was known as the strongest woman and the fastest. And she was in there trying to go against the guy in this competition. And I mean, the dude picked her up and she was like, oh, I'd never been picked up like that before. Oh, I need to work harder. I felt so bad. They were trying to pick up these boulders and she wasn't able to do it. The men could hardly do it. She couldn't pick it up. Why? It's not that she's not strong. You're strong among other women, but you are not stronger than men. But there's women that want men to be obsolete. And my point is, if you're invaded, you have to know that you live in times, and we all live in times where your country, wherever you are, you can be invaded. There's people that may want your land. And if you want men to be obsolete, when that happens, it's not going to be a bunch of women that's coming to invade you. It's going to be men. It's not going to be some women that's breaking into your house. It will be a man or men and women. Whatever the case is, you're going to want him now to do what he needs to do. But because he's been cowering for so long under your totalitarian ways, he doesn't remember how to be a man. He doesn't know how to do anything because he can't even talk to the children. But that's another video. I have a video that talks about feminism, feminist, and all that stuff. So just type in feminist, and you'll see this. Okay? Now, how do we deal with this? Number one, as the Bible says, our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and the rulers of the darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness in high places. In Galatians chapter 5:16, it tells you about the works of the flesh and the works of the spirit. You have to understand that people that do this, when they have been hurt and things have happened to them from they were young, it forms a root. I don't know any child that's never been mad at their parent, and you go and you wish this and you wish that, right? But see, that really depends. Sometimes you have parents that just abuse their children and they are not letting them speak, and it's disrespectful to talk back. And this is very common among brown people. It is very common in African household, people from the West Indies. That's all I know about. I think it happens in other places too, but I can only talk about what I know. And there is this belief that if you talk back, or if you're trying to, it's not that you're talking back. If you're trying to explain a point to your parent, you're talking back and you're going to be beat for it. And I want you to know that comes from slavery. You couldn't talk back to massa. Okay. So that goes from generation to generation. Okay. And that's just the way you saw things. You couldn't express yourself to your parents. So this goes down the line to your children. And now your child is frustrated and they're left with all the hurt and the pain and the disappointment, and they're crying and everything. And God forbid you have that parent that's they don't want to acknowledge your feelings. Sometimes they want you to smile while they're whooping you. Sometimes they don't care about how you feel. They hurt you and then they just want to talk to you like nothing has happened. And now you have to you have all these conflicting feelings, but now you have to demonstrate deference, and it's okay, it's fine. So the child grows up with a lot of hostility, a lot of bad feelings within them, and it's built upon and it's compacted and it's compounded and becomes something hardened and bitter. And that person learns, what can I do to survive? Oh, if I am a jerk, I realize that people are more respectful to me. If I do this and that, if they do things, I can't talk back, but I can shred up their leaf form. I can do this. I can throw out their pills. Oh, this happens. I'll just puncture their tires. Oh, they do that I don't like. I will just accuse them of doing something that they did not do. I'll just start to hit a person. You see, women that's abusive, you notice they're not going out there they're abusive to their partners. You notice they always have a man who's gentle. They don't go to those men that will punch their uterus out their body. That man that's going to knock them out. Nope, they're not. Yes, there's some women, they end up being in a relationship with men who are abusive. They both fight and they just roll around in the front yard like two hyenas fighting. But a lot of times they get a nice guy. They want a gentle guy that they can abuse and they can mistreat, who's not going to hit them back. And this is how you get your full-blown killers. What am I saying? Before they become a killer, recognize them now. Before they become that person. A lot of times, sometimes the women who end up committing murder, it's not even that they wanted to, but they have been so manipulative and vindictive for so long that it escalates into something. If they don't have control of their emotions and they just say what they want to say, saying won't be enough. Now hitting is going to be the thing. And if hitting is not enough and they're impulsive in that and they can't control their anger and they can't control their rage, they're breaking things up, they do all these things, then they're hitting and they're slapping. Open hand becomes closed fist become throwing objects and things of that nature, destroying the home, to finally, stabbing, shooting. And it just happens because all along they've been allowed to just continue doing the certain things, and then you keep giving them access to you. Women who are like this, you have to look in the mirror, because what's happening is a lot of them, they live this life where they're just hurting people and they're bitter and they're hateful, and they get their pleasures from causing confusion, for breaking up relationships, for stirring up trouble. By stirring up trouble, that's how they feel happy. They feel happy when you're confused. They feel happy when you're begging. They feel happy when you're begging to see your child. But what happens if that man just says, forget it? I will say it and I say it again. Some of you may unsubscribe or you may be mad, but before you kill her, just walk away from her. Before you allow this woman to push you to a point that you're doing something crazy, just leave her alone. I always say this: pay your child support, do what you have to do so the law does not come back on you, but cut it off. It may be a bad, sad thing, but if she's playing games with your child and she won't let you see your child and she's doing all these different things and she's using this guy to do this and that, sometimes it has to be as if you don't have a child. And take time to write letters and little things to your child and just keep them in a box. And when that child gets to a certain age, you can show them, I've always been financially responsible. Every birthday I bought you something. If she won't let you see him, you buy the baby a card, you put it in a box. You can show your child later on down the line, I've always wanted to be there for you. Because what can you do? The child has no choice. Perhaps, yes, do your best with a court system. Do that first, because a lot of times you guys are trying to do things personally and get into these arguments and use the court system. But sometimes it's just not fair to you. And when that's happening, let me make it clear. Do your best to see your child. But when you're dealing with, you had a child with a giraffe, for example, okay? Someone who's acting unseemly and out of sorts, then you are now going to have to, you can try to do what you can. You go to the court system, but sometimes she is so hateful and bitter. She's playing that game. And when you find yourself at your wit's end with her, that you think that you're going to do something, or it's becoming so difficult and so hard, the baby's not ready, all these things, it's just going on. You've got to sometimes stop, do what you need to do financially, and just go about your business. And what that does is it keeps your mind sane. And you pray and ask God to open up a door for you, because a lot of times when you're not paying any attention to them anymore, then all of a sudden, oh, you're not getting your child. And perhaps at that point, you can have a real conversation with her. Yes, I want to have my child in my life, but right now my child is not having control of anything. You're playing these games. I want to be peaceable. I want to maintain my mind and my future and keep myself in a position to continue to be a good father to this child. I want to get them, but if you're going to play games and if this is what you're going to do, I'd rather move on, do what I can financially, and prayerfully my child will want to know me later and we can go from there. Because a lot of times these type of mothers, your child at some point later on, you have to deal with the fact that maybe the child will hate you. But also the fact is she will be such a narcissist that the child knows her very well and know that she's manipulative and does certain things. But sometimes you have to make those choices for your sanity and just for the future of your child. Because if you do something to her, or if you are arguing with this guy, you're going through all these little things and you go to jail or you get a charge, you're not going to be able to be there for her anyway, or him anyway. So sometimes you have to create distance. And that's why it's very important, gentlemen, that you don't go out there planting seeds and having babies with any random person. And sometimes that could even happen with someone you did all the right things. You married them and you're a great father, but once you get divorced, she's playing the games. So use the court systems as best as you can. Try to work it out first. If you can't, go to court. Do the best with that. Get yourself the best assistance you can. And if not, sometimes you have to say, okay, that's just what it is. Because your silence is power. And women like that, they need fuel. They need that. Because they're unhappy, they're miserable, they're bitter, they have that angry spirit on them, and they love to argue. So when they start to argue, just stop. Don't argue. Don't respond. Don't do anything. And they'll play games with the baby. But you document. And hopefully things will go for you. And if not, as I've said, sometimes you're going to have to just distance yourself and do what you need to do. Some people may agree with me. Some people may not. But you see too often that man ends up killing the lady, killing the baby, doing all these different things. And that's why ladies stop going out there just having babies with people that, oh, you going to pay child support, you going to do this, yeah. You're doing all these things just for control. because sometimes it doesn't go the way that you expect it to go. So I know this video is very long, but what is the takeaway from this? As women and as young girls, one must be honest and upfront about yourself. You cannot always be right. Deal with those issues, the hurt and the pain that you are going through. It's a long, painful process, but it's possible, because when you take out that root of bitterness, and you're in a better place to be able to reason and rationalize and see things clearly. You won't be easily offended. You won't continue to play the sneaky, vindictive game that you're playing. You will not continue being physically abusive. That man does not have an obligation to stay with you. That woman does not have an obligation. You're abusing your children and you're doing these things. It's going to come out. It's going to be found out one way or the other, whether because you actually take the life of the child, or that child grow older and want to have nothing to do with you, or may even take your life. There's a lot of things that's going on here. Sometimes the abuse is not just this messy thing that happens where you're being beat, but it's emotional, as I said, making the child feel like they're inadequate and they're not enough. You're transactional. If you do well, I'll talk to you. If you don't, if you do what I want, then I'll do this. If not, you're silenced, you stonewall them, you do all these different things. If they're not making the grades, you make them feel as if they're irrelevant. You're comparing them between other children. You do things to make them feel isolated. You see, there's a lot of things. Women have a lot of power. And there's a lot of things that women can do that can be extremely vindictive. And I believe personally, it's because we are the ones that carry and bring forth children. So every soul that comes out that's on this world lived in a woman before. And that's why women can have a lot of this sort of subtle and stealth power, while looking like I'm not doing anything, and can cry. Women are able to bring down the most powerful men, the strongest men, without one weapon in our hand. And you're going to be held accountable for that. So we're going to stop this victimization of, we're all weakened and we're all this. No, there are some women who are true victims, but there's another breed of women that is coming up these days that's lying, that's doing all these things, and they're hurting women who actually are victims and need help. It's time to call it out. Stop entertaining the nonsense. Report abuse of any kind. Step away from them. And women who are doing this, change. Ask God to help you. Go to counseling. Get the help you need. There's stuff online. There's things that you could do. Because the truth of the matter is, y'all been getting away with that stuff for too long. And we're tired of hearing, she's just a girl. She's just a woman. No. You need to be accountable.